Berkeley Data Science. Thank you for your time today. So the first question is, can you tell us your name, business, and the role in it?
Yeah, hey, nice to meet you, Zoe. And I'm Ryan. I'm founder and CEO at Dealight. Basically, we're building an AI SDR for startups. AI SDR means like it's a general sales agent, AI agent that can help our startups, our companies book demos and find qualified meetings and kind of find interested customers that will be kind of interested in our clients like startup. I know.
Second question is, what factor in your background have you did you start your own venture and become an entrepreneur?
That's a good question. Yeah, so I was when I was in college, I was one of like the member in like kind of like the startup club. I'm very interested in such topics, so I was always planning to found my own company. So after I graduated and came to like US, I started to work on the computer science field, started to explore problems. But basically, what I always want to do is to kind of have my own startup. And so I was exploring topics. I was engineering background, tech background. So this wasn't my first topic. My first topic is more around like building a product that's more engineering driven, that's kind of tech savvy. And I found that this is kind of like my third startup. My first startup was more engineering driven. Build a product that's kind of the tools helping other engineers make money. But then I realized that I started to in my entrepreneurship, as I started to learn, I become more interested in the sales topic, which is like helping other finding the clients, the go-to-market part. So when I was like kind of into that field, I was kind of very interested in that field. I've encountered a lot of pain points and problems that I was facing when I was doing my first startup. And so my second startup and third startup now is more shifted from like more engineering driven to more business-related topics. So I explore problems about go-to-market, and I found like there's like a lot of similar people that are facing how to kind of craft ICP, how to do outbound sales, how to engage with the clients, and how to kind of book demos. All these parts I learned from my previous startup, and it's like my third startup. I started to feel like, okay, maybe I should build a product that solves the problem for myself.
And could you also describe the value proposition of your enterprise? What problem are you solving, and how did you approach it? And what was the solution?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're solving the most difficult problem in terms of sales, which is defining ICP and finding your clients. So the ICP means ideal customer profile. It means like who you're serving into. So every startup had to deal with this problem. You basically, it's not about what product you're building. It's about who you're selling into. So when it comes to that, most people ask assumptions, but it's not validated yet. So you have to interview with people. You have to actually kind of reach out to those to see if they're interested. So the way to kind of finding your customer, which is like product market fit or your market segment, it's a very difficult process for all startups. Like if you don't find product market fit, if you don't find people who buy your service or product, you're not going to grow. You're not going to survive. So in order to do that, there's a lot of ways in startups to do it. Most of the startups are doing it wrong. Like I just make assumptions and then I do reach out. It doesn't work. Okay, now what? Like so, the most difficult problem in sales is you finding your target and have them reply. And that's kind of how the GT go to market. So we're solving that with Dealight. The way it works is that we use AI to help our startups refine their ICP and find their clients. Like how it works exactly is when a startup provide their ICP to us, which is like who they're their assumptions, who they're targeting, what they're doing. We will break down those ICP into campaigns. What campaign means is that it's a detailed kind of an actual instruction telling AI who should reach out and what message should do, which include like, okay, this is their titles, this is their industry size, what industry they are, what the size is, are they should be funded, do they should have CTO or not? Like there's like a list of criteria that consists of like becomes one campaign. So when a startup gives us an ICP, we will break down those into several micro campaigns. We do experiment, we do A/B testing until we find the good campaigns. So our AI is able to iterate itself, do A/B testing, do experiment from ICP to results. Until we find good results, then we can come to startup and say, hey, we found your ICP, we know which campaign is doing better, which is not. So we're solving the problem of finding startups ICP by doing large experiment through AI.
I also learned from your podcast talking about like the people should have like 3 to 6 months to improve this process, right?
Yeah. So it's a very lengthy process. Without our solution, company usually will send at least 12 months or even higher to find their product market fit, to know who exactly they should reach out and what message should they be reaching out. With the AI agent, you can shorten this period by a lot. Like within 3 months, you will know. So that's kind of like how the priority is provided, right? Like we shorten your time to do your outbound sales and make sure it works or it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, right, then you can find other channels or you can think about other things. But if it works, then it's fantastic. Like you save like 9 months of cost and time to do this experience.
Also related related to our next question is what was your differentiative and competitive advantage?
Yeah, well, so most of the tools or like, AI agents right now focus a lot on automations, end-to-end automation, I mean. So it isn't that, but like, okay, so the idea is that if you know exactly what you're doing, then automation is great because it's kind of copying what you have in mind and it does like exactly what you think it will do. So automation is just like helping you save your manual work. So that's good for companies who already know what they're doing, which is most of the tools in AI out there. Like they fix the problems for companies who know what they've been doing in terms of the market. So their customers are more like mid-sized, large enterprise. Whereas us, you imagine, right? Like I don't know what I'm doing. So if I say, okay, help me do this, but it's not validated yet, then it's just bad automation because it wouldn't bring you anywhere. It's just garbage in, garbage out, just like training a model, right? You bring like garbage data, then it's just garbage out. So that's most of the tools in AI out there. They are solving the problems for companies who already know their product market fit. But we are solving the problems for companies who haven't known their product market fit. We judge their ICP, we do experiments, we break down into multiple cases, we try it out until we actually find the data. So the trade-off here is that we are more costly. We would actually be more time consuming for most of the AICR. If you know the product market fit, you can find your result in a week, but we have to take months. At the same time, our strength is that we can help companies who don't know their product market fit or don't have their go-to-market strategy yet.
So could you also tell us what do you consider to be the top one or two factors to make your venture success?
Okay, well, that's a good question. So I would imagine, like, in terms of success, it's not about like exit or like IPO yet. It's about how we actually find our edge and, be able to kind of succeed grow. I would say the most important factor is to, again, like figure out who your customer is. So the important factor is not about like building a product, but it's more about, okay, who's buying the product. So in my case, I also tweak my product specific for startups, like for early stage startups and for companies who haven't figured their ICP yet. So I was exploring other sectors or like industries and stuff, and then it wasn't being very great. If your product is very general, it wouldn't work. But as specific as the more understanding about your customer, the more more important for your product to be successful.
So the last question is what is the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur?
Okay, well, that's a good question. So I think the hardest thing about entrepreneur is that you'll never know where it's going to end. Right? Like once you start being a founder, you might be the founder for like 15 years, 20 years, or like 1 or 2 years. You have to kind of go through like the uncertainty. Like you don't know whether or not your startup will be successful at the end of the day. But you just kind of have to keep trying. So in my case, I started my entrepreneurship like 2.5 years ago. I already failed 2 startups. I keep doing this. So basically, the idea is that I have to go through all these difficulties without knowing whether or not it's going to end. But just have to keep trying.
That's fantastic. Thank you for your sharing today. Thank you.
All right. So,